good afternoon, and welcome to the UC San Diego Tritons Tackling COVID-19, the Student Experience webinar. This is our second webinar series in the series, and we are thrilled to have your participation. In today's program, we will learn about UC San Diego's student-centric approach as we tackle COVID-19. We will hear from our Executive Vice Chancellor, Elizabeth Simmons, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Allison Satterlin, followed by the Dean of Graduate Studies, James Anthony, and Assistant Vice Chancellor for Educational Innovation, Carlos Jensen. Additionally, we will receive first-hand accounts by students, a graduate student, Richa Flanagan, and undergraduate student, David Anyakora. We will conclude our program with live Q&A. During this presentation, you can enter questions in the Q&A field located at the bottom of the webinar screen. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Executive Vice Chancellor Elizabeth Simmons.
So thank you all for joining us today for a discussion about how our campus community is responding to COVID-19. As you know, the health and safety of all Tritons is our top priority, and it will remain our top priority going forward. Now, we implemented social distancing here on campus starting in mid-March. We held our winter final exam period remotely, and we made a remarkably quick transition to remote operations, enabling us to keep working, keep teaching, and keep learning. In other words, UC San Diego has remained entirely open for business throughout the crisis, and we will continue to do so. And this has all been possible thanks to the flexibility and the resilience of our students, faculty, staff, and alumni and community partners. This is what's made it possible for UC San Diego to continue undertaking essential research and serving our educational mission for the good of the people of California and the people of the world. In spring quarter alone, for example, over 1,000 courses are being offered via distance learning. And remember that the faculty and students had only 2 weeks to transition to remote learning. And during that 2 weeks, the faculty were having to give and grade final exams. The students were having to take final exams, and then many of them had to move home or to move to other places on campus. But we got the 1,000 spring courses up and running in order to enable all of our students to continue their academic careers safely and with the minimum disruption possible. Summer session programs likewise are going to be offered remotely for everybody's safety. And throughout this time, essential services like housing and dining and healthcare are still available on campus for students who must live on campus. And academic advising, recreation, mental health services, social support resources are all being offered remotely for everybody, regardless of whether they're living on campus or off campus. Now, looking ahead toward the fall, we are working very closely with public health experts on campus and in the local public health department to develop plans toward a staged reopening of on-campus operations with as much in-person teaching and research as is going to be possible, consistent with safety. In the meantime, we've been working to monitor our students' experience in the remote learning environment, and we've been exploring ways to foster interpersonal engagement and a sense of community, because that's such a big part of the Triton experience for everybody. Now, this has all been a really dramatic change for UC San Diego, especially for our students. With everybody's creativity and with their feedback, we will be able to learn from these challenges to become even more student-centered in the future. I'd like to personally thank everybody who has sent notes of encouragement, who has volunteered their time, and provided financial contributions during this global pandemic. I've met many of you at campus talks and campus events throughout the years, including some very important events related to our Basic Needs Hub, for example. And so I know from you as individuals how much you care about our students and our campus. And I really appreciate that. It means so much, and it makes such a huge difference. Now, you may have heard some good news recently that there is federal funding in the form of the CARES Act, which will provide some immediate emergency aid to quite a number of our students who are in urgent need. And we are very grateful for this. We're very happy to be able to distribute this aid. But at the same time, it is limited in size, and it's not really designed to address the larger and longer term issues that many of our students will face. So today we recognize Giving Tuesday now in response to the unprecedented need caused by COVID-19 and as part of ongoing advancement efforts. Your support underwrites essential services and our student-centered learning environment, whether remote or on campus. So thank you again. Well, now I'd like to introduce our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Allison Satterlund. She will tell you more about what we're doing to support the virtual student experience.
It's my pleasure to be here with all of you, and I'm delighted on behalf of UC San Diego students to share with you directly in my conversation with our amazing student David a little bit about what the remote, virtual student experience has been during COVID-19. But before I engage David in some questions and answers, I did want to reiterate much of what EVC Simmons just shared and thank our alumni community for their financial support. I also wanted to acknowledge the incredible work of our faculty and staff and student leadership as we've transitioned to remote learning at UC San Diego in light of COVID-19. So David, are you ready to get started?
Yeah, I am. Hi, how's it going?
Okay. It's good. It's so nice to see you. We have the pleasure of checking in fairly regularly, and now it's a chance for us to share a little bit about what the student experience has been specifically from your perspective. So first, will you please let everybody know where are you currently remote learning and engaging?
Yeah, I'm actually in Riverside right now, so still just a little bit north of San Diego. Yeah, I'm also just in my room for UC State Parallel. But yeah, I think it's really exciting to be able to speak with you today too.
Like you, I am remote working in my family kitchen, and so you may hear my children and my partner as they engage in remote work and remote learning in the background. So David, why don't we start right away with what we know is on everybody's minds. You know, what are some of the challenges of remote instruction?
I mean, to be honest, I feel like from a lot of my peers, it's a lot of students are not feeling that motivated right now. I feel like we're living in very uncertain times, so we don't necessarily know what the next step is. We know there's a lot of resources on campus, obviously. Like, we receive hundreds of emails, so we know, like, our university is constantly pushing notifications out to us. But I think right now a lot of students are really focused on just themselves, their studies. I know the main point of contact is through Canvas or Zoom, so it's a little bit more difficult to feel connected to the university unless you look through all those emails and take the time to do it, and then you realize, oh, there's cool classes online, or you can do this, and there's new services. But besides that, I think like the main benefits is like really having the time to focus on ourselves and create our schedule. Like me as a student, like I've been able to enroll in different programs like the Radio School Business Starter and like just get more involved. I think using that time instead of like playing video games or watching Netflix, but just going through the different support systems. And if you go through those emails, UC San Diego is pushing out a lot. And like if you take the opportunity to take them, I think you grow a lot as a student.
So David, have you had the opportunity to utilize our tech lending program or participate in some of the activities that the recreation department has made available through the playground?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. My mom saw me. So there's like yoga classes. There's also the guitar ones. She saw me do the yoga one outside with my dog trying to lick me. Those ones I actually did take up a bit. The tech learning, lending, I do have my own laptop, but I did know that one of my peers actually, she lives in the same city. Like we talked about it, and she actually got a laptop because hers stopped working and her family's from Mexico, so she doesn't necessarily have support right now. So that was actually like a really big help from our university for her.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. For those of you that are listening, David and I are talking a little bit about our tech lending program, which we swiftly put together with our partners in ITS, and of which the Alumni Foundation has provided financial support to provide over 225 students with some sort of needed technology to support their remote learning and remote engagement during this time. So David, in addition to being engaged in your coursework and engaged with some of what Rady is offering and doing some yoga with recreation, I know that you've also been continuing to work on issues of importance to you as a Triton leader. Can you talk a little bit about how COVID-19 has informed your out-of-classroom leadership experiences?
Yeah, actually, I love that. The one thing I realized is me and my team, like, we stayed really dedicated. We made our meetings 3 times a week. And it's actually really exciting, like, knowing that you have a team that's really passionate and dedicated. And it's like electric in the sense, like, every time we shoot off ideas at each other, it's like, it's really innovative. Like, we have a vision, and to us, it's not a matter if we can or can't do it, it's just a matter of time. And I really love how we're really trying and strive to move towards supporting different communities. And 2 members of my team, too, which is really exciting. They started a program called COVID Childcare, which they partnered with students from USC, UCLA, and Stanford, and they got published in, I believe there was an article, but in the USA Network, and I thought it was really exciting that they're on my team also, and they're UCSD students, and they're supporting the San Diego area, and they're supporting areas throughout California. And with our program too, like, we're continuing to work with CalSoap, and we're just growing, and students are really leading change right now.
So David, for those of us who don't have the same opportunity to work with you on a regular basis, can you talk to us a little bit about how you're working with CalSoap and your team to support outreach?
Yeah, so we obviously changed our model, reiterated it to be all remote access online, and CalSoap has been like phenomenally helpful with like the feeder schools, which schools are the best to reach out to, which ones have existing programs within the San Diego area. Potentially also partnering with the San Diego Foundation, which Linda is our mentor, the CalSoap director for the Student Opportunity Access programs. Yeah, it's been a real like help to support students and their families, like partnering with Parent University, which is through UCSD Extension, and like really talking through admissions and talking about how do we provide students like information on A through G financial aid, and really ensure them at this time like college is still an option for them and it's not like off the table.
So David, what are some of the lessons you've been learning in your coursework that you've been applying in the COVID-19?
I actually like this a lot. So yeah, we had 2-hour meetings previously, but we really shortened it to be like 1 hour 3 times a week and really productive. But through sustainable development, community development, some of my classes I'm taking right now, as well as like project management, I've been like really learning to like develop human-centered design to really talk about what our constituents need, and like our students can get that feedback and create feedback loops and consistently make what we want to do better. And like that I learned in my classes I'm applying right now, and I really love it.
Well, David, I have to tell you, we miss all of our students. And it's great to connect in this way with you and just be re-energized by what brings so many of us to the work. Before you turn the tables and start asking me questions, is there anything that you'd like to share with our alums as it relates to how our alum community can continue to support our students and their fellow Tritons through remote learning?
Yeah, I feel like right now students are really starting to step up in a lot of different ways. And I know our university is bringing forward really great ideas, but students are also bringing forward great change as well. And right now, I think there's obviously the fiscal part of it as well, like our financial needs for students, but students also don't know what the next step is. It's a really uncertain time, and if they have mentorship or guidance and the opportunities presented to them, I think that's a really big push for motivation. Like, there's a lot of students that they don't know what's next. So if they can connect with somebody and talk about what the future could look like for them. And like, it's even exciting to connect with a mentor, even without what happened right now with COVID, and just having the opportunity in that pathway. And I think that's something that we should really start developing and working on as well.
Okay. All right, thanks, David. I imagine that Cheryl and Doris will have more information on ways that students can connect with alumni either through the virtual Triton experience or to take a Triton to Work day in the spring or micro internship. So thank you for that good reminder. Okay, I'm ready for you to turn the tables.
Yeah, so I was waiting. So yeah, one thing I realized is there were support systems that we had previously before COVID-19 arose, and I wanted to know like how you ensure those structures of aid and support are still accessible for students.
All right, so thank you, David. So one of the most important things that we have been able to extend to our students is, remote access to health and well-being resources. So in January of this year, our Student Health and Wellbeing Cluster had piloted a telemedicine counseling and psychological services option that went quite well. It also, just by a stroke of good luck, gave us the opportunity to work through some of the technical issues on the back end, not knowing that in spring 2020, we would be providing counseling psychological services directly through telemedicine. So that's something that we've continued to do. I think certainly making accessible health and well-being options, such as the work that's been happening with remote yoga and meditation, and a number of our health and well-being peer educators have been doing a lot of good work with podcasts and really elevating their work through social media and through our virtual student union, and collaborating in that way to elevate the resources that we may have always had on campus, but they weren't our primary source of student health and well-being engagement. I think the other thing that I wanted to highlight was the work that's been happening with the Basic Needs Hub. So during this particular crisis through the pandemic, the Basic Needs Hub has transitioned to the delivery of food directly to students, so that physical distancing and the preparation of food boxes could be ensured to be following public health guidelines. They transitioned their basic needs requests to COVID-19 emergency fund requests, so we could start to assess impacts financially for students that were beyond food and housing, but to also include additional expenses related to job loss or to emergency childcare needs or other unexpected needs, such as technology needs, and have been working closely with the financial aid office and scholarships. And this morning, at the last count I received, was 965 students have received some sort of basic needs COVID-19 emergency relief. And that has been a result of the support and generosity of others and the team working very collaboratively. In addition to the direct delivery of food to students through the hub, also our students have been working closely with the professional staff in the Basic Needs Hub to ensure that pop-up food delivery options are made available across campus, because we do still have 5,000 students here on campus, and I'm also trying to be as responsive as possible to individual student needs and making sure that their specific circumstances are tended to financially, because we know now that obviously the family impacts of COVID-19 have reverberated across all of our student communities.
Yeah, and I know like my actual roommate still stayed on campus and he's been using the food hub as well. Actually, it was really exciting. He was talking to us about it. He sent us a picture. But I wanted to ask how the university right now is also collecting student like feedback and utilizing that on how to move forward.
All right, no, so thank you, David. So the process of moving remotely has created an incredible opportunity and responsibility for our student leaders. So right now, all of the committees responsible for educational continuity and planning for both summer 2020 and the academic year 2021 include representation from our graduate student leadership as well as our undergraduate leadership through both our student affirmative action committee as well as our college council presidents and our associated student body president. Also, the undergraduate experience survey, which UC launches every other year, is also underway. We collect that data every other year, and UC afforded us the opportunity to add COVID COVID-19 impact questions to that survey. So we should have that direct information in the summer. And then just in the last 2 weeks, we've launched a task force to look at the remote student experience. That task force has over 50 individuals with 10 students, and students serving as the co-chair of 4 specific work groups, looking at how we can further improve and understand the remote student experience.
Actually, I know some of our student leaders are really doing a lot for our community right now, and like I see it on Instagram and our actual networks and platforms, a lot of information getting pushed out. One thing I did want to ask is, what do you think your team has done moving forward and I feel like a lot of things that UC has done so far is really innovative, and what do you think it really excites you, like moving forward, and like what you've created and will be lasting after COVID-19?
So, first I want to acknowledge that, it's really the talent of our colleagues working closely together. And what makes me so excited is to see people come together across departments, across units, across really silos to be incredibly creative and student-centered. So I think about the weekly podcast series that we now have, Triton, the Triton Toolbox and Tidbits, that is a partnership with EDI and Student Life and our student leaders, really student retention and success, that really highlight ways that students can have the opportunity to engage with campus and subject matter experts and student leaders in a way that we didn't have available before for students. And so that podcast will continue. I think also, our innovations as it relates to how our coaches work with our scholar athletes, who are doing remote workouts and studying video and, continuing to engage with their sport in more dynamic and interesting ways from a remote location. And I really think the collaborations that we've developed around communication, that will continue, not just the podcast, but, communicating with parents and families, using this kind of format to engage with alums who can't come to campus, and just thinking about the ways that our students can both be employed in the development of the remote student experience, communication strategies. We are going to need student leaders to make sure our UC San Diego app is robust, and student engineers to make sure that those resources are accurate and up to date and engaging with students. So those are the innovations that I'm really, really excited about, and that we'll be able to reach students and their families and alums in ways that we have not attended to before.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think it was just really exciting, actually, like thinking about everything the university is doing, like as a student. I know I've been really focused on the programs I've been developing as well as with my team, but I feel like we do definitely feel really supported and think about the different opportunities. Even last night, like we were up until 11 o'clock, just looking through the emails together and talking about what's next and what we can go into. And I really appreciate our universities pushing that forward.
Well, David, it's why we're all here, in the service of our students, and because we are counting on all of you to continue to lead globally. So I want to thank you for your time and for joining us from Riverside. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our good colleague, James Anthony, the Dean of the Graduate Division. So Jim, I'll turn it over to you to take it away.
Thank you, Allison. Hi, everybody. My name is James Anthony, and I'm the Dean of the Graduate Division at UC San Diego. Thank you for taking the time to join us and hear more about our students' experiences. It was wonderful to hear about the experiences of our undergraduates, and I want to thank David for sharing, and I want to thank Vice Chancellor Satterlund for describing all that UC San Diego is doing to engage and support our undergraduates. I'd like to take a moment to speak with you about what I see as the current experiences of another kind of student, our graduate and professional students. And then I want to introduce you to one of our amazing graduate students. So for those of you who don't know, there are nearly 9,000 graduate and professional students at UC San Diego. And while many of our undergraduates left campus to go to their homes, most of our graduate and professional students remained here. For our graduate and professional students, this campus is their home, and they stayed here, attempting to stay fully engaged in all of the work. They're helping to advance knowledge and improve the world, from the creation of artistic works to the development of new ways of understanding all aspects of the human condition, to conducting basic research in engineering and the sciences, to training to be on the front lines as teachers, psychologists, epidemiologists, laboratory scientists, physicians, and everything in between. So graduate and professional students play an essential role in helping to make UC San Diego the fabulous research university that it is. And they work as teachers here, helping to ensure that the education we provide to students like David and all the undergraduates is in fact world-class, even as we've transitioned to remote learning. Now, when our graduate and professional students finish their time and they graduate and they become alumni, most of them will actually stay here in the region, and the contributions that they will make to our society will touch every aspect of all of our daily lives. They do things like they start new companies, they create new technologies that improve our health and our lives, they enrich our lives through art and music and culture. They educate our children, and they run our schools and school systems. They care for our loved ones in all kinds of medical settings. They help to design better roads. They ensure that we have clean water and clean beaches, and they improve all of our infrastructure. They effect important policy changes in our nation and in other nations. And they go on to lead our institutions, our towns, our cities, and our municipalities. So graduate and professional students, they not only make UC San Diego better, they go on to help San Diego, California, and the world become better. Now, during this pandemic, graduate and professional students have shown their incredible spirit. They're working with our faculty to design new ventilators that can be used for the sick. They are working with our faculty on new approaches to contact tracing and helping to sharpen our public health response to the pandemic. They're part of teams of researchers that are helping to design clinical trials that are studying possible treatments for COVID-19. They're designing ways to keep our community's young children engaged in their learning, and also helping families with basic needs, access to healthcare, and access to psychological support. They're working with other researchers to understand the coronavirus and are part of teams that are out there helping to design new vaccines. They are heroically partnering with the UC San Diego faculty to transform all in-person courses to remote learning and making sure that our undergraduates continue to receive a strong education. And they are making sure our undergraduates are not falling through the cracks. They meet with our undergraduates remotely and make sure that these younger students are taken care of and that their learning continues to advance. So in short, our graduate and professional students, they've been inspiring during this crisis. But this crisis has also had an impact on our graduate and professional students. For many of them, their research activity has ground to a complete halt in many respects, and their progress as students themselves has been affected dramatically. They've been limited in their abilities to assist faculty in important research, and many have lost the chance to gather important data in communities or out in the field, or have had to halt the development or creation of artistic works and productions. Many of our graduate and professional students have been unable to secure the essential internships that they typically get, or summer employment, and other work that helps them be sustained both intellectually and financially. And many of our grad and professional students have spouses or partners that have lost their jobs, or they have young children who themselves are being negatively impacted by the closure of daycare facilities and schools. So in this time of crisis, it's good to highlight the incredible impact and contributions of our graduate and professional students, but we also need to shine a bright light on these students' struggles. Now, more than ever, they need our collective help. They take care of us, often in ways that are not immediately evident to all of us. So now we need to find ways to take care of them and their needs. Alumni giving has benefited graduate and professional students in important ways, and anything more that you can do to help will improve their ability to make it through the present crisis, which in the end will directly affect their chances of helping all of us in the future. So now, speaking of incredible graduate students, I'd like to introduce you to one of them, our amazing Graduate Student Association President and PhD student, Richa Flanagan.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Richa Flanagan, and as Jim said, I'm currently serving as the president of the Graduate Student Association. I've been here at UC San Diego for nearly 4 years, and I'm working on a PhD in the Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering. I came to San Diego very serendipitously after I finished my degree at the University of Maryland at College Park, and I've spent probably the last 10 years of my life studying physics and engineering. I've learned that in those fields, being smart is good, but being resilient gets you even further than you can really imagine. At UC San Diego this year, the COVID-19 pandemic has really driven home the importance of that resilience. You know, I remember I was sitting in a 50-person Graduate Student Association Council meeting, and the Chancellor's message started being distributed to students. And as the meeting adjourned, you know, it felt like every head in the room looked right at me and immediately started asking me a question. And of course, you know, in the beginning, the situation was evolving so rapidly that I had no information other than that email. And, you know, like everybody on campus, I had 100 questions and there just weren't quite any answers. Super fortunate to have served as GSA president during this time and to bridge the gaps in information. I'm really proud of all the partnerships we've been able to leverage to answer those questions. It's definitely been a little bit tough for graduate students because, as Jim talked about, you know, we play a pretty crucial role in the campus. Without COVID-19, we support the instruction and the research at the university, which then helps us go on to gain national recognition. It helps us get the grant funding to keep doing our amazing work. And I'm sure many of you know that these, and Jim's done a great job of outlining how our graduate and professional degrees really give us a leg up in career advancement. So, you know, we pursue careers as medical doctors, accountants, professional engineers, you name it, you probably need a graduate degree for it now. So when the pandemic struck, our workload changed dramatically. You know, in some cases, there were graduate students who were essential and they had to batten down the hatches and prepare their laboratories, whether that was securing mice or monkeys or test subjects or other experiments, or, you know, preserving what work they had going on. Other students who just aren't able to make any degree progress because their research resources are not accessible at this time. And then others, some of these people overlap, others are working to put those courses online with their faculty members in the span of just a few weeks. So there are researchers on campus who are still doing COVID-19 research, and those researchers are probably graduate students who are very much involved in the hands-on work there. And you know, the graduate student experience is really different now. Even the nature of our exams is totally different. I mean, imagine you spend like 4 to 6 years and you devote your life to one project and you are like excited, you know, you're gonna present this to a room of esteemed scholars, faculty, peers, your family, your friends. And then now you have to give that examination at your kitchen table with your 5 committee members over Zoom. Very different. Personally, I am hoping to advance to candidacy this month. And basically that means my doctoral committee is gonna tell me if my thesis has been worth pursuing. I've got a lot of mixed feelings because I'm gonna do it right here at my kitchen table. And I mean, it's a major milestone, so it's worth celebrating, but I'll have less faculty, which might mean less hard questions, but also means, you know, it's kind of scary to know, I guess, whether or not the rigor that I want in my work will be there without those questions. This pandemic didn't come without penalties for graduate students. I, myself included, some of our partners, we've lost supplemental sources of income from part-time work and things like that. I actually spend my summers doing research at the Los Alamos National Laboratory under a paid graduate research assistantship, and that's been like an incredible opportunity for my research and my professional development. But I've lost that summer funding. And while I'm super lucky that my advisor and I have worked things out, there are graduate students who are really having a hard time figuring out what their summer employment is going to look like at this time. I know one key mechanism for aid right now has been our Basic Needs Hub, and I've been partnering with them to increase food security in the graduate community. We have a lot of really cool funds and resources where folks can go in and request aid for lost wages, housing insecurity. If you have a need, the Basic Needs Hub is totally happy to help any student figure it out as best as they can. And then the allocation of funding for graduate students from the CARES Act is going to help support those relief mechanisms as well. So we have a great infrastructure, and I know students are incredibly grateful for the aid that we can provide. I am actually volunteering myself with the Food Recovery Network and the Basic Needs Hub to just facilitate food distribution. I've seen firsthand the gratitude that this aid brings to students and the relief. You know, students will come right as we're closing, and they're just so relieved and grateful that we can give them anything. So I think the hardest thing is just knowing that moving forward, we're all going to be in a tough financial situation. And it's scary to think that these resources aren't going to last because of changes to the budget. So we've also been working hard on our external advocacy to government representatives on all levels. But, you know, I mean, the future is uncertain for all of us. One thing I do know is that graduate students are resilient. That's what grad school is all about, I think. Everyone's research or academic work is somehow dramatically challenged by what's going on. And for some folks, they barely have the means to be involved in remote work. Personally, I'm really grateful for the partnerships that I've developed with the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and the Dean of Graduate Studies, since they've been tremendously helpful in helping me navigate the hundreds of student concerns we've been able to address. And they've also done a great job of helping us find the ways and means of providing aid to students. COVID-19 has been remarkably challenging for us, and when it's all over, I know graduate students, and I guess the whole campus itself, really, we're going to be that much better for getting through this together. And I'm just really incredibly proud of the tenacity I've been witnessing from my own peers and from my campus partners. So I'm really glad that I have the opportunity to share these insights with you, and I'm going to turn it back over to Dean Antony to introduce the next speaker.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Really appreciate hearing your insights. It's very illuminating. I now have the pleasure of introducing a new member of the UC San Diego community who has been taking an enormous amount of responsibility in helping us respond to all aspects of the curriculum. And his name is Carlos Jensen, and he's the Associate Vice Chancellor for Education Innovation. So I'll turn it over to Carlos now.
My name is Carlos Jensen. I'm the new Associate Vice Chancellor for Educational Innovation. I faced a very unique situation of joining UCSD just as we were transitioning to remote operation. So I'm actually joining you all from Oregon, but I very much look forward to meeting you all in person. Part of my responsibility is helping UCSD create new educational programs, adopt new ways of delivering our educational mission, and promoting innovation and student success. So I guess there's no time like the present. I co-chair the Educational Continuity Task Force, and this task force was created to look at emerging issues and needs in response to COVID, and to provide advice and support to leadership, departments, faculty, and students. The task force looks at all aspects of our educational mission, from supporting faculty, planning for future terms, responding to new questions and needs, and supporting needs of students as these change over time. It's a very inclusive group with representation from graduate and undergraduate students, faculty, academic staff, academic senate, student support, basically every aspect of the university. And what we try to do is we try to ensure that UCSD can respond quickly and in innovative ways to the challenges as they come at us. The task force has been focused on first successfully wrapping up winter term, and then scaling things up again for spring term, now summer, and right now we're in the middle of planning for fall term. As has been mentioned before, Our transition to remote instruction this spring was done with incredible speed. 2 weeks, including the time that our faculty and our students were doing final exams. For spring, students were already signed up for classes, and we honored those commitments. We saw very few students drop classes, and our retention numbers look very, very good. Some students have even increased their course load for spring, taking advantage of the fact that there really are not a whole lot of other demands on their time. Just to give you a sense of the scale of this enterprise, in the first 4 weeks of remote instruction, we have streamed almost 2 million minutes of lectures. That's over 3.5 years of video lectures. And even though this was a very challenging transition to make and folks really had to do the best they could on very short notice, there's some amazing things going on and some great innovation. And I think as we transition out of this, this crisis, this will actually make us stronger. We will learn a lot. We will adopt a lot of new ways of interacting with students, supporting students, and delivering on our educational mission. So I already mentioned this took an enormous effort. Everything from faculty who had to learn and adapt new technologies basically on the fly and redesign their courses. Our IT and educational technology colleagues have been outstanding and just worked tirelessly to support both faculty and students. Our student support teams, advisors, counselors, TAs, tutors, mental health, financial aid, student organizations, everyone has really stepped up, and we have been able to deliver those services remotely in modified form, but to provide that rich experience and support for the students. Administration, including Academic Senate, have been very, very flexible and done things in the kind of speed and with the kind of flexibility that many of us didn't believe was possible. And then from our alumni and supporters who've really stepped up to support student needs and advocate for our students and for the university. But first and foremost, this has impacted students who have had their whole world upended, and it's been a significant challenge. Some of the challenges that we've seen students struggle with include things like equipment and internet connectivity. As we've taken all of our classes remotely, that comes with the assumption that everyone has access to the kind of bandwidth and the kind of resources that are needed for remote participation. Students have also needed to adopt to new pedagogy, learn new technologies, and adopt new learning styles. In some cases, that has been a trial and error process and learning a lot. Students are juggling family commitments, being caregivers, finding safe and appropriate places to study. Right now, they're dealing with cancellations of internships, summer plans, job search, and increased financial vulnerability, mental health stress, anxiety, and this question of returning home or worrying about remote family. I will just say that for summer, we are wrapping up the planning. We have seen increased demand. Students want to take advantage of summer. Our enrollments are up by 30% or more, and we're adding sections and classes as quickly as we can. And we are getting ready to finalize the plans for fall. Fall is very challenging. It's almost 5 months away, and there's a huge number of unknowns, but we understand that students need to make decisions about housing and class enrollments. And so our goal is to have a safe return to campus with testing, social distancing, and other measures. We are currently taking a look at what classes we will be able to offer in person, what classes we will need to continue to do remotely, understanding that return to campus will look different from what it was before this crisis, and having a staged plan. With that, I will thank everybody for their time. I will thank you for the vital role that you serve in supporting our students and supporting this great institution in this very challenging time. And I'm confident that together we'll come out of this stronger than ever. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your insights, answering questions. We are going to move into the live portion of our question and answer session. Please continue to submit your questions via live question and answer. We had a few questions that were submitted prior to the remote webinar starting. So I want to start with those questions. I believe AVC Jensen primarily answered the first question of knowing when will we know which classes will be in person and which will be remote, so that parents and students can better understand the housing situation.
Our goal is to have that information available when we open up for fall registration, which is just a few days away. The challenge is that that's going to come with certain caveats. Those are going to come with assumptions that we keep making progress in containing and controlling COVID. And everyone's going to have a certain amount of flexibility in terms of what happens if we don't meet those goals and we don't meet those objectives.
Great. This is for both of our students, David and Rachel. You talk some about your experience on and off campus, but talk about a little more about your student experience on the other side of the remote session. What have professors done to engage you, to keep you interested and focused, and what have they done to lose you as well?
Yeah, I think for me, the classes that I'm the most engaged with are the ones I'm actually interested in. The ones I'm least engaged with are pre-recorded videos, such as podcasts, because I don't necessarily need to be there at that certain time, and then I just have to schedule in time afterwards. But I think when I can actually communicate with a professor and they're pretty funny online on Zoom, and they actually have a personality, we can talk with them, communicate with them on chat. It's really engaging, but when we have a professor that just posts information and we don't really have a dialogue, it becomes very distant. And I know that's where a lot of UCSD students are with their classes. I know a lot of Tritons right now don't feel as though they have a connection with the university. It depends on where the coursework looks like and what the structure is of their online learning, because all of us have different ones, because we all transition to it on a separate page. But yeah, that's basically how it feels right now with this online learning.
Sure. For me personally, I remember I said that I came to UC San Diego pretty serendipitously. COVID-19 has also been weirdly serendipitous for me. I am no longer required to take any classes, and since I've been working on advancing to candidacy, I've been writing a proposal and preparing slides for my examination, and my advisor has been more actually accessible than ever. He's a phone call away. He's happy to hear from me. I'm impressed that he has been able to get up to speed so quickly with Zoom and technology, and he is teaching a class and he's having a great time. And so I think knowing that my advisor has actually made the best of this situation personally has been really motivating for me, and been really awesome for me to get the support that I need during this really difficult milestone for my degree. I know other graduate students, they're working really hard, and I think they really share the same sentiment that David was sharing. When the instructors are engaging, students can be more successful, but when it's just sort of, here's the pre-recorded lecture, here's your take-home test, good luck, see you next course, or see you on Zoom, it becomes really impersonal and really hard to engage with.
Thank you. VC Satterlin and Dean Antony, I'm going to direct this next question to you. Can you talk a little bit about the impact on hands-on lab experiences and the quality of training? And then furthermore, what will be the impact on the quality of the degree in the future for employment and graduate school admissions?
Let me start with the second question, the quality of the degree. You know, the faculty here at UC San Diego are as engaged as ever in teaching their courses, attempting to try and provide an experience for their students that, as ABC Jensen has said, they had virtually no time to actually prepare for. Nonetheless, I think that what we are seeing, really not just at UC San Diego, but around the country at every college and university imaginable, is faculty worrying about this question and working as hard as they can to make sure that the quality of the experience can be as high as possible. I do recognize that students are experiencing something different than what they signed up for. But the reality is none of us signed up for this. None of us, none of the faculty, none of the graduate students, none of the undergraduates. And what really is inspiring to me is how everybody's just sort of making it work right now. Now, going forward into summer and into fall, regardless of what sort of modalities we're able to deliver courses in, we've got more time to plan. And so what I think we're going to see is that the faculty will have become even more comfortable in teaching in this modality. The students will become more comfortable learning this way. And hopefully things will be a little bit different in terms of how people feel about the situation. I feel, honestly, that the quality and rigor is there, but it's just different. Right now, we have to be flexible in terms of how we're teaching and how we're experiencing things. And you're going to see that all of us are just going to come out of this fine. I really do believe that.
Cheryl, what I would add is, if you think about the skills and resilience and creativity and flexibility that our students are learning right now, all of these experiences and, again, skill sets that are required to problem solve remotely, to work with others remotely, to think and understand and solve problems remotely or in new environments, are what the world of work already is for many Tritons and for many folks who are designers and engineers and teachers. And the idea that we all have to be lifelong learners is something that I would hope all of our students take with them, because that's also a mindset that is certainly necessary for success. But certainly professionally, to be successful, you have to be able to adapt. And this is an environment that, if we can support our students through the ambiguity and engage them in the problem solving and solving the problem in real time, I do believe it translates in very significant and impactful ways when they come back to campus and when they leave campus.
Excellent, thank you. There was a question in reference to, so there's been a number of donations that have been given to the campus, many for student emergencies, COVID for student. How are those CARES funds distributed? Are they by request or are they distributed automatically?
So the CARES dollars are facilitated in the same way that any gift to UC San Diego is facilitated. Every dollar is coordinated through our financial aid and scholarships office, and this ensures that our students with the highest level of documented need are served first. And the process to basically have the file reviewed for need is to reach out to the financial aid and scholarships office and provide supplemental information, or, as our GSA president mentioned and David mentioned, to complete a COVID-19 emergency fund form through our basic needs hub, and it will get routed through our case management team to financial aid and scholarships.
It's the same answer for graduate students.
Great. The next question, actually, I will answer, and then I would like for our students, David and Rachel, to add on to this. And it's, how can alumni be part of assisting with the student experience? And there are many ways in which alumni can do this. One, I would say, if you have the ability, making a gift to our Student Support and Success fund is critical because there are so many critical needs. But we also have the opportunities for alumni to join our Tritons Connect platform, which is a mentoring experience platform. We have just opened this platform up to our senior students on campus, and many of them are looking for advice. So we definitely ask you to do that. We have a Take a Triton to Works program. And normally we do it in person, but we are doing a virtual experience where there can be some one-on-one virtual activity for our students so they can get to know you and ask questions from you. Alumni, if you have insights into internships, into job openings, things of that nature, please work with us. We would very much like to help our students, both undergraduate and graduate students, to be able to find internships for the summer, to have jobs as they graduate. We know how difficult it is to find the right thing when all things are normal, but this is a uncertain situation, so we could certainly use your help in helping our students to find these opportunities. So those are just a few of the ways. I'm going to ask our students to give a quick 30 seconds of how they think alumni can help as well.
Sure, I completely agree with you. I feel like giving a gift and aid right now is incredibly helpful for students. I know I sat down and had a Zoom meeting with financial aid, and we were able to talk about aid and gifts, and I was able to share with my peers and with the students alongside us. They don't want to take any aid that they don't need at the moment. And I think that's how we stay together as Tritons, and for you alumni to also support, because it's really going to the students that really need it, are dire need. And staying connected with opportunities is what really brings us forward through this time.
Yeah, staying connected, super useful. And I know the Graduate Student Association is working with Graduate Division through a program we have called GradVantage. So we host career nights and things like that. We would love to connect with you. So if you want to look up my email, it's online. We would be happy to have more alumni connections, because I know that's something we're missing. And as always, any aid that anybody can give is just so, I can't convey to you how moving it's been to see how grateful students are for just giving them a few canned goods and some bread when we can. And you know, anything that anybody can give to support would be just really, really, really awesome.
Excellent. Thank you both. As we begin to wrap up our program, I thank you for being online with us today. I'm sorry I did not get to all questions. There are so many good questions. For alumni and parents who are out there, do want you to know that the Career Services Center is open for your student. There was a question in reference to that. My entire team has become Team Career Services. So there are about 70 of us out there willing to help students and help them navigate this particular time. So thank you for joining this webinar. We hope you join us for our next webinar in June. Please join us for the Global Giving Tuesday that's going on today and kicks off our UCares program today, May 5th through May 15th. We have a UCares program that is going on, our 32-hour giving day, and we're specifically focused on our COVID emergency fund and emergency funds for our students. We're so proud of all who strive to help others, whether they can afford emotional support, provide funding, or even share their tips for how to stay positive. During this campaign, we get to show the world how UC San Diego cares, and hope you will join us. For more information, visit ucare.ucsd.edu. Thank you very much to all of our panelists, and there are resources that BC Satterlin has put on the screen. We will email this presentation out to you with these resources. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.